Hello Squid Squad! Welcome back to a new episode of Tides and Trails. We're Kellyanne and Andrea, and here we are live for you to deep dive into the world of science and travels. If you're new here, Tides and Trails is a space where we talk about marine science, traveling as scientists, and how we balance research, hobbies, and life outside the lab. Some weeks we're very professional, some weeks we're not, but it's always honest.
And this week we're going to get into how we got our start into science and marine science, but we're going to start first with our waves and wipeouts, which is our highs and lows for the week. Andrea, do you want to start us off?
Yes. Okay, the first high generally is that the weather is really nice right now.
Yeah.
Like, we've had one day with rain, but other than that, it's like chilled 16, 18 degrees, sunny, so nice. And that in January, like me being from the Netherlands, that is a high. Like, I did a massive cycling trip this weekend and I was just chilling in my shorts and my t-shirt, and yeah, that's living the life.
Yeah, I'm not going to copy you, but I will say I do have the same for this one. The weather here has been amazing. And yeah, I'm also from New York and they have so much snow right now, and I love skipping winter and just having nice weather year round.
Yes, so I think that's my highest high. Low, honestly, maybe we have the same again, the test from last week.
Oh, yes, we did have a pretty difficult exam last week.
Like, we thought we studied so good, and then they started questioning us about, like, specific, earthquakes and plate movements. Like, specific which location on Earth does this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm sure a lot of our listeners probably have had this before, but, like, you know, those exams that you study so hard for and the teacher, like, drills home specific little details and then doesn't test you on those. It's one of my biggest pet peeves. But I actually was going to say my wipeout for the week is that I just got back from Morocco and I had an amazing time and I kind of miss traveling. I'm happy to be back in Portugal, obviously. But the end of a trip is always a little bit sad. So that was my wipeout for the week.
Yes, I do feel like everyone is recovering right now from their trip. Like, our other friends, like, just came home from trips and everyone is kind of, like, sleeping everything off from, like, the holidays.
Yeah, so getting back into the routine of being a student again, studying again, and just, like, back to normal life sometimes takes a little bit of time.
Yes,
but
for sure.
Riding these waves as they come, you know?
Exactly. So, then I think it's time to get onto our topic of today.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about how we got into marine science. Do you want to start us off, Andrea?
I think maybe that's fun, because you had, like, a really clear path from, like, being this little child that, like, you were gonna do marine science no matter what.
Yes.
And I didn't at all. So I think that's a good, fun difference. Like, I was always fascinated about Earth, and, like, I was always, like, I wanted to be the best at, like, geology, and I knew all these random facts, and I got, like, a world atlas when I was, like, I don't know, 8 or something. I still have it, which, like, I love that thing. I'm never gonna throw it away. But I didn't grow up sailing. That was something we just didn't really do. Yeah. So I am not, like, I wasn't thinking about that. But then when I turned 15, I got the opportunity to sail for half a year, which was a project, and we're basically sailing and doing your schoolwork at the same time. And then I was like, this is so cool, I'm gonna do this. I sailed maybe 10 times in my whole life before that. And that's a lot for me, I thought back then. And then I literally lived on a boat for half a year. I did some research, we did some sampling, we did some beach cleanups, and then I was like, this is actually really nice. Like, I really like, I wasn't scared for, like, being on the open ocean for, like, 14 days. Like, some people think that's really scary. It's so peaceful. So then when I had to choose my degree, I actually chose a degree, a hydrographic degree. So that's, like, basically really short, you're mapping the seafloor. So you're working on boats, but it's like you can choose. It can be close to shore, it can be inland, it can be offshore, like for wind farms and all those different things. So that's how I got into like more marine field, I would say. Just literally by, I know I like water, so let's do this degree. But then when I finished that degree, I realized I actually wanted something more. And I did work as a hydrographer for a little bit. And then I was like, as a child, I was so fascinated about everything. I wanted to know so deeply what everything did and meant. So that's how I started like thinking about doing science, like real science. So now I'm here in Portugal doing my master. And yeah, so far so good.
Yeah, I would say so.
So yeah, didn't know I would end up here, but if I look back at how I was as a child, also not surprised.
Yeah, my love for the ocean also started in childhood. It's funny because I grew up like away from the ocean. I was not near the ocean. I was hours away from it. But I always knew I wanted to do something with animals. Like, I was one of those Animal Planet kids where, like, instead of watching cartoons, I only watched Animal Planet. I knew random facts about every animal you can think of, and I always used to say I wanted to be actually a veterinarian.
Mm-hmm.
And then I watched a TV show, and it was about veterinarians and, like, things they did. And my favorite animal in the world was turtles. And in the show, they had to euthanize a turtle. And then I was like, no, I don't want to do it anymore. I don't want to be a vet. And after that, I was probably like 5 or 6. I started saying, I want to study turtles. I want to study turtles in the ocean. So that was me unknowingly choosing my path into marine science. I actually have pivoted away from turtles in my adult life, but that was what started it. Yeah, so after that, I always would go tide pooling and whale watching and things like that in the summer with my dad. He tried to like kind of foster that interest in me. And then when I turned 12, I started volunteering at the New England Aquarium in Boston. And that was when I got like my first like hands-on experience into the marine world. But I say I always kind of chose this path for myself from a very young age. Yeah.
Which is, I think, so cool. Like, I think so many people, including myself, just never knew what they were really passionate about until, like, really late. Like, it wasn't until I started studying this degree that I was like, oh, I actually think I'm on the right path. And you just knew that, basically, from the age of 6.
Yeah, like, basically, I always jokingly say, like, since I could talk, I said I wanted to, like, just be in the ocean, study the ocean, all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I kind of just had this predetermined, like,
Mm-hmm.
path for myself. And honestly, it's really surprising I never swayed from it, because I feel like every time you, like, meet people, they're always like, oh, I always wanted to be a marine biologist when I was young, blah, blah, blah. But, like, they didn't actually do it. So I think it's really funny how a lot of kids, that is kind of the goal.
Yes.
But yeah, for me,
You actually stuck to it.
Yeah, I actually stuck with it, so.
Yes. I do think that this is partially unrelated. I think it's really interesting that although we're studying the same thing, we don't have the same base interests.
Yeah.
Like, for me, it was like the big world, just the world in general. Like, just exploring all of it. That brought me to marine sciences.
Yeah.
But then I do interest the large scale processes the most. And you were the animals.
Yeah, like, for me, I'm obviously more interested in, like, the animals and the ecology aspect of it. But I also am super interested in, like, climate aspects and chemistry and things like that and how they're impacting organisms. So I wouldn't call myself, like, strictly a biologist in that sense. Like, I think that biology for me was always just a bit too much memorization based. And I really like how everything connects together, so.
Yes, which is, I think, why you're doing the degree we're doing right now.
Yeah, exactly. So that's also why I did marine sciences, like a broader degree for my undergrad, and then marine and coastal systems for the master's.
Yeah.
I like the interdisciplinary connection, especially with, like, climate impacts and marine life.
That's cool. I think that's a good one, honestly. Okay, but, like, we're talking about this now, but we didn't start here.
Yeah.
Like, we had some moments in our career where we were like, why did no one tell us this? Like, how is this happening? And I think for me, one really typical one was actually my first practical assignment, because we had to measure a height difference in between 2 points. but the distance between those 2 points was like 800 meters or something. And we did that back and forth on a really cold day because, well, Netherlands. And we were so proud that we were within 5 centimeters accuracy. We thought that was amazing. And we went back to our lecturer and he was like, you have to redo that. That's so inaccurate. And we were like so surprised. We thought we did so well. And I think that was one of the pivotal moments. Like my lecturer would always say, one measurement is no measurement. And basically that was the basic. And never trust anyone else's judgment. Like always back up with your own visualizations. And I think that one was like a really pivotal moment for me. Like, oh, like science is actually really specific sometimes. We do have a lot of inaccuracies and things we're like unsure about, but we try to get to like the deepest truth of it, like the closest we can get to reality.
Yeah, no, I think mine is similar in a way where it was like an academic wake-up call. Because I always would jokingly say like, I picked something so hard for myself, why did I do this? But I had to take, at my university for my marine sciences degree, I had to take all the same courses as the pre-med students. And these courses were like very much weed out classes, like organic chemistry and anatomy and physiology and, like physics, chemistry, all these things like that, calculus. And they were very difficult courses, especially with like the pre-med aspect of it. My school was a very like big medical school, so it just was really competitive, and it had this like really like this kind of toxic community around studying and around doing as well as you could in the courses. They were all curved based on how well students did, so it was just like a very intense, very stressful first couple of years when you got these like weed out classes out of the way. And there was a lot of times during it where I was like very frustrated, very unsure, like, is this really the direction I want to go? Is this too hard for me? Eventually I got through it, and now I'm very proud of myself for doing so, but there was, definitely some times in organic chemistry that I almost gave up, so I'm happy I made it through.
Yeah. I think another thing I find really interesting is like, what I find really cool is it is science, but you can like go into so many different, you have so many aspects of it. Like you have your field work, but then you also have your modeling or like your computer work where you're just looking at data for hours and hours on end. And then you also have like, a lot of our lecturers are like scientists, but then also like professors. Yeah. And I think I never saw how like
marine science is like a very interdisciplinary field because I always tell people like you can go into the conservation aspects, you can work for an NGO, you can work in a lab, you can do field stuff. There's so many options. I'm also like very into scientific diving and like data collection in that sense. But like marine science is not, I've really realized, especially like my undergraduate degree is the biggest wake-up call of this, how interdisciplinary the field is. You really can study anything. I mean, even like blue economy and things are becoming like really big emerging fields in marine science. So even like the humanities aspects can be involved, and it's just a really, really fun, interesting field.
Honestly, it's really cool. It's really exciting. Like, it's exciting me so much. Like, even in the marine sciences field, you can have so much different disciplines that, like, come together and need to come together. And I think maybe the higher up you study, like, the more you're also involved with all these different things. Yeah. So I think that is really exciting. And I think that's, for both of us, a real reason to like, continue studying. To, like, get this, like, deepening and this broadening of our knowledge. So, yeah. Okay, Andrea, do you have any early fieldwork stories you want to share? Well, actually, I do have a really fun one. This is like a pivotal moment for me. This was when I just started working. And I think my first project, it was one of my first big projects. And it was somewhere along the coast in France. And we were collecting data. And we are working with sounds. And dolphins also make sounds, which is around, like, not the same wavelength, but they can hear it. So we were collecting data, and at one point I just saw something in my data, which I was like, what the hell is that? And we looked outside, and there were like tens of dolphins around our boat, and like what I saw in the data was literally a dolphin like under the sensor. I literally saw the dolphin under the sensor.
That's so cool.
I don't want to say it surprised me in the fact, but yeah, it did surprise me that there were dolphins, and like literally the skipper, everyone who was on board was looking outside. We were not looking at data. And what also I think makes working on boats really fun is the connection you get with your colleagues.
Yeah.
Like you're on a project for like 3 weeks with 4 people and you get really close together. Like you can laugh together. You share your life together with someone for 3 to 4 weeks. And I think that is really cool as well. Like, yeah, you make inside jokes. It's really fun. Yeah. So, and you?
Okay, so I have so many, but I think my funniest, like, early fieldwork story was more, it was in the aquarium. So when I was, like, 12 or 13, and I think this one's just really funny.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, when I first started, they didn't realize, I guess, like, how committed I was to, like, learning everything. And, like, by the end of it, I knew almost every fish in this tank. But I worked in the giant ocean tank department, so this tank is, I want to say it's 250,000 gallons. I might be making that up a little bit, but it's a really, really big tank. Like, this is a tank that you have divers going in daily. And I remember they didn't know what to have me do because I was really young and I just started. They had me name 100 Royal Grammas. And I just think it's so funny because I really did. I sat there and I named 100 Royal Grammas.
Oh my gosh.
Which are these, like, if you don't know, they're very beautiful fish. You should look it up if you've never seen one. But they're these really tiny purple and yellow fish. And we were putting 100 of them in the tank and then we come up with a list. And yeah, I mean, that was one of my first missions, I guess, at the aquarium. But I think it's really cute, honestly. And then, like, as the summer went on, they realized that I was actually competent and could do things other than prepping food and naming fish. So I ended up doing more as the time went on. And my last summer there, they actually let me do some dives in the tank, which was really nice.
It's really cool.
Because, yeah, I think I was only 16. And, yeah,
that is really cool.
But... yeah, I always think that one's pretty funny. Every time I see a Royal Gramma, it kind of goes through my mind.
That is funny. That is a good one. Yeah, and then we have, like, what would we tell our childhood selves? Like...
I mean, I would just tell her to never give up and that she was going to get there one day. Yeah, because, I mean, this was always kind of my dream. And so I think... in a way, like, being that I was from, like, a very landlocked area, like, I was more near the mountains and things like that, I didn't really see exactly how I could make a difference at first in the ocean. Eventually, I pivoted towards environmental activism and things like that, but we can talk about that in a different episode, because that was also a very long journey. Because I realized anything that you do on land impacts what happens in the water. And at one point, that was my outlet for helping the ocean.
That is really beautiful.
Yeah, so that's how I got into environmental stuff, but I think there was a long road where I didn't see the light at the end of the tunnel, and so I think it's really nice to know that I ended up doing it. I did the thing.
That is really cute. Yeah. I think for me, it's like what I just briefly touched on. I really didn't know what to do. Like, I would say it was more in my teenage years, but funnily enough, I came back at the thing I thought I was gonna do when I was like 8 or something. Like, I just wanted to know everything as a child. Basically, what a researcher does. Like, it takes a topic and then goes down into it. And I think it's really funny. Like, looking back at it now, I like to say to myself in those years, like, you will find what you love. But, like, you don't need to invent the wheel again. You just need to look at yourself and, like, think, what do I actually love as a person?
Well, I think, like, it's another thing. I don't know if you had the same experience, but when I used to tell people I wanted to be a marine biologist, even at, like, a young age, like, I'd say, like, you know, a young teenager, the first response was always, you're not going to make money doing that. And, like, I always was having people tell me, like, don't pursue that because it's unrealistic, you're not going to make money, X, Y, and Z reason.
I didn't have that. I was just a dreamer. I had so many weird, random interests as a child. But, yeah, I was really passionate about all these things. And I would just say, just follow your passions.
Yeah.
Like, don't doubt. Don't think you have to do something other people are doing. Just do what you really love. So.
I love that.
Yeah. Okay. Then we actually go into our weekly topics.
Yeah.
Which is
Do you want to
exciting
share?
because this is now the second week, so it's actually weekly or monthly. I don't know how often we're gonna upload, but
Yeah, stay tuned to figure that one out.
we're figuring that one out ourselves as well as we go on.
Yeah. But we're going to talk about some positive science news. And this
Yes.
one, I think, is a little bit close to home for Andrea. So I'm going to let you share.
Yes, because basically I've lived in South Africa for months. And so when we were actually searching up this one, this felt really fitting. Let me look it up so that I'm saying this correctly.
I know where it is. Okay, so here it is.
Yeah, so in South Africa, everyone knows you have to go to Boulder Beach to see those cute ass penguins, right?
Yes.
I think everyone who is in close to Cape Town, everyone knows these cute penguins. So nowadays there is a no fishing zone secured to protect endangered penguins in South Africa. And I think that's just what we all want, right? We all want to look at cute penguins. And I think that's something, I mean, endangered animals should always be protected.
No, exactly. It's our positive news of the week, and I think it also highlights that like marine science is so interdisciplinary, like policy and things like that also are involved, and I think it's super interesting.
And even like I'm also pretty big into education. Maybe we'll touch on that in a different week, but it starts from there. Like it already starts from like training scientists, and with like grants and everything, it gets really politic, but. Yeah, you see right now, like politics is mostly really big for like actually executing the plans and the needs.
Yeah, and in my home country, the USA, they don't typically do a lot of environmental action that's very positive. So I love seeing positive environmental actions taking place.
Yes.
And I love to see our wildlife being protected and prioritized. So.
And especially if it's close to home.
Yeah, and especially if they're cute as those penguins.
Exactly, yes. No one can say they're not cute. Okay.
So we're going to move on to science facts you didn't ask for. And you can use this to annoy your friends and family.
Thank us later. Okay, so this is also close to home actually. And even closer. Because...
Well, where do you think the biggest wave in the world was ever recorded, Andrea?
The biggest surfable wave.
Both.
Well, this was in Nazaré. I don't know if you would realize, but it can be. I've been at this place. It can be such a just peaceful sea.
Yeah.
But then the biggest surfable wave ever recorded was 26.2 meters over there.
Yeah. So for our American viewers, 86 feet. And somebody actually surfed that, which I think is super insane.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
Yeah, so
if you want a near-death experience, I think you have to sign up for this. But it's like really, a few weeks ago, the waves were actually that big over there, and it's just crazy to see. But then the question is, which is kind of scientific and also quite hydrographic, so I felt really connected with this topic, honestly, because they mapped the whole seafloor there to see why this wave could exist, and they found an underwater trench, so like it is like just really close by where the wave is that big. It's really deep for like kilometers, and then it gets really shallow really close by the coast, and then with the swell from the Atlantic, like if they come together, you get like an amplified wave, so the wave gets like kind of one wave plus another gets like a really big wave. So it's kind of, you know, geology and ocean physics teamed up to make something like really epic, which we could like all enjoy as surfers, and I think it's just so fascinating to see.
Yeah, I don't think we can all enjoy that because I know I could not surf there. But watching it from afar is a really, really cool
experience, yes, for sure.
So even if you don't have the opportunity to go to Nazaré, look up some videos on YouTube.
Yes.
It's very, very impressive watching people surf these waves.
Yes. Okay, and then maybe even this is our last category of the week, and maybe my most favorite. Did we do it last? We did do it last week, and we called this experimental attraction. We have to say peer review pending and HR disapproved, but a sentence you would probably shouldn't use at work, absolutely will use.
Okay, and so this week, if I had the choice between DNA and RNA, I'll always pick RNA because it has you. And if you don't understand, look up the nucleic acid bases for RNA versus DNA. That should do it for you.
Basically, RNA
has uracil as one of the nucleic acids,
yes.
while in DNA it's replaced with thymine. So
yeah,
that's a joke.
Yes,
I think it's great.
And actually, what is your plan with the quotes? Are we gonna tell them?
We'll keep that one under wrap for now.
Okay. Then you have to check out our next episode, because then we'll share some exciting news, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Got a surprise for you guys next week, so you gotta stay tuned.
Yeah. Okay, then this was our episode, actually. Do
Yeah.
you want to look forward to the next episode? Do we have a plan for you to get excited about?
I don't know. I think we're gonna talk next week a little bit more about stuff we do outside of the lab. So stay
That will
tuned
honestly
for that
be
one.
excited, because where does science bring you?
Yes, exactly.
Well, stay tuned for that and have a good week.
Yes.
And see you later.